Plank. Presented by Jeep continues right now on ABC Action News Now.
And welcome back, folks, to The Plank, presented by Jeep. Tom Korun, along with John Sabol and Derek Fortier, joining us here from whatthebuck.net. I love the name.
Well, thank you very much. My wife gets all the credit for that.
She does, huh?
Yeah, she does.
So she's the creative one in the bunch?
Yes. Yeah, she would tell you that clearly.
So tell us a little bit about whatthebuck.net.
This is our 9th season. It started because my wife was tired of hearing me talk about football to her because she didn't care and yell at television. And she said, listen, you know technology, you love sports, and ostensibly there are people out there who care what you say, maybe or not. She didn't really care. She just didn't want to hear it herself. So it was sort of the rise of podcasts, and she said, go do it. And so went out and started doing it, and lo and behold, people seem to listen. So.
How have the fans been able to interact with you with the website, and what is their voice right now with the season and in the early season struggles with Bucks?
Well, what's funny is early season there was unbridled excitement,
right?
And then of course you get kicked right in the face coming out, and then all of a sudden, oh no, we suck again comes out, and people start to get very upset. Our fans are typically on one side or the other. There's not a lot of middle of the road in Tampa. And in that video that you guys teased, actually. Our fan base is 30,000 to 35,000 people that will deal with anything. They're amazing fans. I'll put them against Green Bay fans, Cleveland fans, anyone. It's the other side that sort of transient, come and go. And right now, when we beat Pittsburgh, it was excitement and happiness. And this week was interesting because in New Orleans, we went against a team that people didn't give us a chance to really compete with. And we made a good fight, like Miyagi said. You don't have to win or lose, just have to make a good fight, and we did that.
They made a good fight, and I thought that they should have won the football game. I thought they were the better football team out there. You saw the game as well as I did. I mean, as many mistakes as they made, and they still were there.
Yeah.
And was that your?
This is your tailgate.
Your family.
Yeah, this is part of our tailgate. We have the largest tailgate in Tampa. We have the only Hall of Fame tailgate in Tampa, and I think we're the only the only tailgate with our own pirate ship.
That's
other
pretty
than the
cool.
Bucks official one.
Who built that?
That's actually our sister crew of Blackbeard's Revenge. That's their pirate ship for Gasparilla, and they bring it to our tailgates.
That's awesome. So
where are the tailgates in your
It's
backyard?
right behind One Buck Place on Ohio. It's literally across the street from the official Bucks away team tailgates. And we always welcome those folks over if they want to get a taste of our tailgate.
So how many people would you say on average every Sunday you get in your tailgate?
We average between 300 and 500 people. Our top has been about 1,100 last year. Miami, Monday Night Football, we had a live band that night. We've had a live band probably 6 times.
Get out of here. That's awesome.
It was a bit of a zoo, but we managed to be fine. It's managed chaos. When you've got 1,000 people there, you don't know all those people, and you run out of beer, and you run out of drinks, and you start running out of food, and people don't care.
Now, did we see when we were rolling that tape, did we see a pig roast?
We did a pig roast last year. Yep.
I'm getting hungry just thinking
We have
about
our own
that.
chef.
That brings me back to college.
Absolutely, yeah. we don't. It's not your typical hamburgers and hot dogs.
How about from the standpoint you talk about the fans out there? We see them. These are your avid fans, win or lose.
There's a pig.
Yeah, which looks pretty good actually.
It does.
It's delicious.
And I look at it, and I've been around here a long time, and it just seems as if the emotions of people, especially when it comes to this football team, that they get so down when things are down, and they get so up when things are up. They live and die with this. On Mondays, I can tell the difference even when I walk into this building of whether or not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won. I never really seen a team in a big city, a bigger city, unless you're in Green Bay, of where they live and die on a Monday, and how they feel about a football team.
It sets the tone for the week.
Absolutely. It absolutely does. I've lived here my whole life, more or less, except for a brief stint in the Seattle Pacific Northwest. And Seattle was nothing like this.
No.
The fans were, and I know they pound their chest now because they got a ring and they're the 12s and all that, but let them have 2 losing seasons in a row and it'll go back to crickets in whatever they call that field now. But these fans, absolutely, you're right. Monday morning, you can tell, and we always joke around, we either need to win a lot but not too much, or lose a lot but not too much, and then people are very engaged. If we win too much, people get disengaged. We're winning, oh well, whatever. If we lose a lot, people get disengaged, but they want that conflict.
Okay,
you need that mixture.
Yeah.
Well, that brings me to the fact we have this continuous talk about people that come and go out of the Tampa Bay area. Mm-hmm. They don't settle the shoes. They don't put their feet in the sand. They come and they go. Is that part of the reason why you think that people are sort of flighty?
I think it is. I mean, and we were all brought up differently. Like I'm a Bucs fan because we moved from the Northeast, from Boston, and my dad, when we got a franchise, and my first conversation I remember with him, I was 4. He said, "Son, we have a football team now. We're Bucs fans, and anyone who plays the damn Dolphins." right? And that was it because he was a Patriots fan.
Right.
That's how I was brought up. Not everyone was. And if you go to another town, maybe you raise children in another town, you're from Tampa, and you become a Green Bay fan, I guess it happens.
Well,
Yeah.
I grew up in Chicago, and I was a fan of the team. Now I find myself, being in the business so long, that I'm a fan of players.
Right.
I because of the relationships that you develop as time goes on.
Oh, yeah.
And there are players you want to see get to the Hall of Fame, which a couple of them have already.
Right.
There are players that you want to see get to the Pro Bowl. And to me, on that Sunday, I would love to see the team win because it makes our job a lot more enjoyable. But I want to see those guys play well. Do you find yourself doing that?
I do. Through this, it's been interesting because I've gotten a chance to build relationships with a number of the players and their families. We have a number of the families who come to our tailgate. We have away team families who come to our tailgate because they've heard it's a safe place to come. We don't care if you're a fan of the other team. Just behave yourself and everything's fine. But you get those relationships, and I still try and be impartial because when I evaluate the game, I could be your best friend. We could play golf on the weekends, but if you miss an assignment, I'm going to call you out on it, not because I think you're a bad person, but because you messed up. But now we know their families, and it becomes very personal. It's funny, and I think social media is part of the contributing factor. Anyone who creates a Twitter handle can pop off about someone being a clown and sucking at this game, which, to be honest, the worst guy who suits up for an NFL Sunday is so much better than any other guy across a desk at this game. They're different. They're not even the same species, guys. Try and catch a football from the worst quarterback in the NFL if he really wants to throw it at you.
It's a good point.
So-
It's true. Talk about your website, whatthebuck.net, and of course, you can. How can people reach you on Twitter? What's your Twitter handle?
We're at What the Buck. We stay pretty brand consistent. Facebook.com/WhatTheBuck. Whatthebuck.net. We do a live show. We went to once a week because I had a second child. I only have 2 children. Those people were not all my children.
That's your extended family.
Okay.
It's extended family,
I'm certainly
exactly.
glad
I
you
couldn't
cleared
afford all
that
those
up.
guys. But yeah, and for the tailgate perspective, if anyone wants to come join the tailgate, we're out there at 7 getting set up. It kicks off at 9. It's donation driven. This month we have 2 charities, Making Strides for Breast Cancer and then the Spring of Tampa Bay. Last month was One Voice Foundation, which is a pediatric cancer research right here in Tampa, and we're going to give them a check tomorrow night for $4,100, which was the money we
fantastic.
raised last month. It's been
good for you.
amazing what that's done. It's brought fans together for something more than just a game, and it's been pretty awesome.
That's awesome. That is great because you don't necessarily always hear about tailgates that help the community and that are family friendly with kids of all ages.
Absolutely. That's us. You described us very well.
Yeah. Talk about some of the fans' voices of going on right now with the team. From what you've interacted with from social media and from your website, are they nervous about the Ravens? What is your inkling about
Well,
that?
what's funny is the fans who participate with us, and we're fortunate, we got a pretty good following. I looked at his education because I've coached the game, I've coached at a number of different levels. I try and spend some time working this out. You were asking about the running game. Is it Doug Martin? Is it the line? Realistically, I believe, and Steve White and I, when we talk about it pretty regularly. This zone blocking scheme, the line doesn't have yet. It's a dance. And EDS said it today. He said it's usually one guy missing it. Well, against Atlanta, it was more than one guy.
Yeah, no kidding.
But we try and talk about those things, and some of them are coming along, but the fans are concerned. They're concerned about guys who bring in like Michael Johnson, who has a good game against Pittsburgh, and then just really the worst game of the year against New Orleans. He was a non-factor, could not set the edge. And the running game, obviously, Mike Glennon, the quarterback position, is always galvanizing. Glennon's gaining a lot of support. Best game he's had as a Buck, I think, last week. So I think they're starting to rally behind individual pieces parts, and they're starting to see that they're getting. I had a nice conversation with my UPS guy today, who knows that I do this, and he was asking about, are we drafting a quarterback next year? I said, I don't know, man. It's still too early to say, but I think Glennon's doing pretty well. I still think McCown is the better thrower of the football, but right now you got to ride the hot hand, I think. So.
I think that's the case because whenever you do get in a situation where you have a quarterback controversy, which, let's just be honest, I don't think we necessarily have that yet because of the injury of Josh McCown, because Glennon fell in the spot because of default, because of the injury.
Absolutely.
What is your personal opinion on this game coming up here? What are your concerns?
My concerns are, I'm a fundamentals guy. Football is about blocking and tackling. And right now, we're not doing either of them particularly well consistently. We can move the ball down the field, which is amazing. And you were pointing out, Mike Glennon, if you put those drops back into his stat line, that's a heck of a game that kid put together.
It really is.
Right?
And
really
it's
is
also,
silly.
I think it's points on the board.
Oh, it
too.
is. It is, absolutely. But at the end of the day, that game came down to, it was 12 minutes and 13 seconds left in the game, an 11-point lead. We need 2 first downs. We can't block.
Right.
We have to do checks at the line because we dance too much, and we can't just play smash mouth football. And the New Orleans Saints, who are as finesse as they come, in overtime, run the ball down our throat and walk into the end zone. And that, I forgot who the player was who said, but that's in the locker room right now where they've got to feel like, okay, they took our heart with that.
And not
Really,
to,
that's a basic off tackle.
Right.
Ron, this is just standard. There was
Nothing fancy.
nothing fancy at all. 18 yards.
and look at the block or I should say, the broken tackle that the two Buccaneers missed on the 6-yard line.
Well, they tripped over each other.
Well, and to be honest, Mark
Which
Barron,
his team has been doing.
Right, the bad news Bucks.
Mark Barron, and you talked about Joe Flacco. My concern this week, Joe Flacco, his arm's not underrated. Anyone who watches football knows this kid's got a cannon, and he will absolutely throw to any spot on the field.
And when I mean underrated, I mean I don't think he gets enough credit because of there's too many people, in my personal opinion, after the Super Bowl win saying this guy wasn't worth that money. You know?
Still the greatest move ever when he said, okay, don't sign my contract and then win a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
But no, you look at this with the safety play we've had, which has been very, very suspect. I'm extremely concerned about. I'm less concerned about our quarterback play, actually, than I am about our safety play because we keep trying to disguise our coverage, and there's really no disguise to it. We can't get back into position. Very afraid of what that's going to do to us unless, Flacco's about an extra tenth of a second in the pocket than Drew Brees. Gerald McCoy was about a tenth of a second away from about 9 sacks. He had 7 pressures. He still had contact on the interception. We're getting to the pocket. I always think we have a chance to win. We got to do everything right. But by God, at some point, that line has got to block well enough that I don't care who's running the ball, Martin, Rainey, James, whoever, they got to have a seam.
Yeah, I think if for McCoy, I think with another week, I think his hand's better. I think he's going to be more of a force against Baltimore this week than he was against New Orleans last week, despite the fact. But you got to get to the quarterback. You can put hurries and pressures and all that on him. The fact is, man, if you don't put him down, they have 57 passes by Brees, and not one time did he go down.
I was shocked watching that game. They did not get to him at least one time.
Well, what was lost, and I was actually at the game. I travel to usually about 4 games a year, and the fans there weren't exactly behind Drew. There's a sentiment against Drew. They were concerned with Drew. That's why the running in the end, they actually were very happy in the stands, and I never heard that. And all I've been there 7 years in a row, never heard that kind of talk. But Drew, after the plays, he was getting put on the ground, and we got away with a couple where we were driving him through the ground. Now, Flacco is more Roethlisberger-esque. He's more statuesque in that pocket. I think we have a shot to get back there. I agree with what you're saying about Joe McCoy. Last week he did it against Jari Evans. Not a bad guard.
Not a bad guard. Right, right. And the fact, what kind of surprises me, does it surprise you Baltimore's only a 3-point favorite in this game?
It does. I don't think people know what to make of the Bucs. I think right now what you're seeing is, and these line guys, I mean,
They're
how
usually,
good are they?
They're usually
how
on the
good are
run.
these freaking guys, right?
Yeah.
You've got a lot of good Play-Doh here. Anyone who knows the game knows Lovie Smith's a heck of a coach. He's assembled a great staff. They're tweaking. They're moving pieces and parts. And as they come together, no one expected Glennon to be able to move the ball like this. No one expected an offense on the side of the ball like this, right? The defense, if they just do what they're told, if they're in their gap, minding their assignment, which is what Derek Brooks told us, what Rondé Barber told us, what Warren Sapp told us, that's going to be the hardest thing. Do your job. Don't do anyone else's job. And when you're fatigued and you're on the field for 86 plays as opposed to 54, you're going to start going to other people's gaps. Things fall apart. If those start to come together, this team all of a sudden looks fairly daunting, even with the roster that we've got, I think.
I got you. Well, listen, we're going to take a short break here. We're going to come right back. We have a fantasy segment here. You get into fantasy football, right?
From time to time, as it allows me.
Time to time? Well, sometimes dealing with this football team, you need to be in fantasy land. All right, folks, the plank will continue right after this. If you want to join us, the number 813-367-0171. Who do we have? We have the boys from Atlanta on the line there when we come back? Okay, you guys hang in there. We'll be back with you right after this.